At the time when we were viewing houses, at some point I was exhausted. I was tired. Every day I would go view house, and then we'll bid and bid and bid, and I will get bidded out. Hello beautiful people, it's your girl again, Ada, and thank you so much for tuning in to watch today. Now in today's video, just as the topic suggests, I'll be talking about the steps you need to take if you're looking to get a mortgage here in the UK as an immigrant. Okay, I know as an immigrant in the UK, it's always a dream to want to get your own house, get your own mortgage, and then whenever you're paying towards yourself and all that. So that's what this video is all about today. I'll be taking you from the very first step, the first things you need to do, to the very last, to getting signed off as a homeowner here in the UK. So if you're seeing my face for the first time, my name is Ada, as I said, and in this channel I create content about everything in the UK, spanning from my experience and experiences of others as regards living in the UK, also living in Australia or in US and other places. If you're looking to get a mortgage, it seems so ambiguous. You don't even know where to start. You do not know the first step to take, and you do not even know how to prepare for that. Please watch this video to the very end, and I'm sure you will get value out of it. Don't forget to subscribe, like this channel, and as well, it's going to motivate me to do more videos. But then for now, let's get right into the video. Thing you want to get as an immigrant before even talking about going to get a mortgage. Number one, we know it's saving towards what? A deposit. Of course, save towards a deposit. Make up your mind that, okay, I'm looking to get a mortgage in the near future, so I'm definitely going to need some money. So if you're looking to save, you should just budget your mind for around 10% deposit of whatever the value of the property you're hoping to get. If you decide to go with the 5%, there's nothing wrong with it. Of course, people in England would always have that option. I haven't seen it yet in Northern Ireland where I live, but in England, there's always the option of the 5%. But then it does have a downside to it, which if you're somebody that you don't mind paying more as a monthly mortgage repayment, then you can go for the 5%. But if you know it's going to be too much for you, maybe you should just calm down, save for a 10% before you even go further to get your mortgage. So number one thing you need to do is save towards a deposit. There are other ways you could also save towards a deposit aside from you just saving. There is the ISA account, which I used when I was saving towards a deposit for I and my husband. So far you are less than 40 years old, you can get that account. It's called an ISA account. And if you're less than 40 years old and this is your first home you're buying in the UK, you're eligible to apply for this account. And what this account does is, after every £4,000 you're able to save in a year, you get given £1,000. Isn't that great? I used that account. It was lovely. So if you're able to use the account and save about, let's say, £16,000, at the end of the day, whenever you're withdrawing this money to go pay for your deposit, you'll be cashing out what, 20k. So let's say you open the account today and you're looking to get a mortgage in the next 3 years. And in this year, you and your husband are able to save 4k. You get an extra 1k on your side, an extra 1k on his side. Next year, the same thing. Before you know it, you'll be getting like an extra 4,000 from the UK government. But bear in mind, you have to be less than 40 years old, and then this has to also be your first mortgage here in the UK. So of course, getting a deposit is one of the very first things you need to get. You need to get ready before you even venture into getting a mortgage. The next thing you need to also get is a good credit rating. This is why you talk about getting a good credit rating from the very first day you step your feet into the UK, because you're going to need it. All right. Before any lender gives you their money, they want to be sure that you are a good borrower. A good borrower in the sense that when you borrow money, you always pay them back. All right. And how can you build your credit score? You can build your credit score by having fulfilling your direct debits. Let's say you have a Netflix account, you're paying that. You have a phone loan, you're paying. You have data, you're paying. You have your Wi-Fi, you're paying. And maybe you have even a credit card from your bank and you're paying all this. You're never delaying your payment. So those are ways that also help build your credit score. That's the topic for another day. It's a very long discussion. So you need to also have at least a good credit rating before you go ahead to think about getting a mortgage. Then another thing you need to bear in mind is, as an immigrant, most lenders will want you to be at least 3 years old here in the UK. Don't quote me on this, because there are instances where people who are less than 3 years old have been able to get a mortgage, but it's not very common. Okay, most lenders will always say they want you to be a resident in the UK for 3 years. But if you are less than 3 years, You just might still be lucky, but 3 years most times is like the standard. So now at this point, you can begin to search for a property. There are so many sites which you can search for a property. You can search on Property Pal, you can search on TMC, on Zoplan, on Find a House. Those names down here, you can go check them out yourself. There are so many sites you can go and search, and remember to always put in like the specific location where you're hoping to buy this house. Okay, so like you can put in radiuses of, oh, I want this house to be within 2 miles from my son's school, I want this house to be within 1 mile from my work. Remember to put in those factors when you are searching for this house. Okay? And when searching for this property, there is something you should bear in mind. Okay, this was something that confused me so much whenever we were looking to get a property. You see, when you're searching for properties, the price you see online is usually what is referred to as the asking price. All right, now when they say price, what it means is that most times that is not the closing price. Okay, that is not when you're going to be buying the house. Most times you can either get the house higher than that price or less than the price. Very little times do you get it less than the price. You always get it higher. Whenever we're looking to get the house, you see, whenever you see an asking price of £200 and then you ring the agent, right? Then you get told, oh, we'll have another person who has put in an offer for £210. £210,000. Now at this point, they expect you to do what? To put a counter offer, which of course has to be bigger than what the last person put. So it's sort of like bidding, if you get what I mean. It's like bidding. This person bids, the other person bids higher, this person bids, depending on how much you love this house and how much you're willing to go for this house. There were times when we bid and we went even more than what we were hoping, and I'll be like, wow, I've gone more than what I expected, and I will do what? Withdraw. So this is going to keep going on until the last man standing gets the house. That's exactly how it goes. So when you're looking, check out, don't just base your mind based on what you're seeing online, especially for old houses. Now, there's an exception to new builds, because most times in new builds, there is always like a fixed price for the houses, okay? Because these houses, even before they were built, they've already put a price that this house is going to go for £200,000, is going to go for £250,000. Now, in that case, nobody comes to counter the offers. You just know it's going to be that. But then if you're buying a house that is not, you're not going to be the first homeowner, bear in mind that it's always going to be like either an upward or a downward. You see the point where you're viewing the houses. Please be careful. You need to be very, very careful, and you need to be very, very patient. All right. At times you see a house and you feel like, oh my God, I've seen the best of them all. And then you cancel every other viewing. And then tomorrow you see something even better. See at least 5-6 houses before you make a decision. And at times you might be getting responses from them that are not very favorable. You get responses like, unfortunately, we're sorry, landlord had decided to go with somebody. Don't feel disappointed. Don't feel frustrated. Because at the time when we're viewing houses, at some point I was exhausted. I was tired. Every day I will go view house, and then we'll bid and bid and bid, and I will get bidded out. I didn't have much money. So that's what happens. Don't get frustrated. Just keep going. There's always a house there for you. You will eventually meet up with your house that fits your own desires, this family size, and exactly the things you're looking out for. So at this point, when you've seen a property and you like the property, and maybe you've been given an offer for the property, you then need to do what? Get a mortgage advisor. Now, before I go on, I need to let you know that you can as well do these things hand in hand. Like, you don't need to wait until you get your property, you get an offer before you go ahead to get a mortgage advisor. Because most times, as soon as you get an offer for a property, they want to be in contact with your mortgage advisor. Okay, so you do not want at that point to not say, oh, I'm going to get a mortgage advisor, because if the seller is very desperate, he might decide to then go with the next bidder. Okay, so while you're looking out for the house, you could as well be getting a mortgage advisor. If you're getting a new built house, most times they will offer you a mortgage advisor, or at times even the bank, the lenders you want to go with might offer you a free mortgage advisor. But in our case, we got a paid mortgage advisor, and I will tell you why. This business of getting mortgage here in the UK, there are so many people who are not very aware 100% about what happens with our visas. So if you're an immigrant, you're on a Tier 2 visa, or you're on this or you're that, your health and care visa, at times they really don't understand. They don't understand like what you mean when you say you're on this visa, what you mean when you say you have such restrictions and you can't do this and you can't do that. So it's always best to want to go with somebody, a mortgage advisor who has had previous experiences with immigrants, Okay, that way he already knows what to present, how to present your case before the lender, so that you stand a chance of getting approved for a mortgage. So if you go with any and anyhow mortgage advisor, at times they don't know how to package your file, and then you get turned down by the lenders or by the banks. But if you go with somebody who has already had experience of dealing with immigrants, then it's always way easier. They already know what to look out for, what to ask for, and how to make your file presentable, and of course get you your mortgage advisor. It's usually not much. You can get a mortgage advisor for as low as 200 to maybe 400 pounds. In my case, I paid less than 400 pounds for a mortgage advisor, and he was wonderful. I can give you his link if you're in Northern Ireland and you're looking to get a mortgage. Now, what the mortgage advisor does for you is to look at your files, sort of look at your papers. Now, it's not just about getting your deposit. There are a lot of things that the bank or the lenders will look at before they agree to lend you some money. Okay, they want to look at what they call the affordability. Are you going to be able to afford this house? Are you going to be able to pay the monthly mortgage repayment for this house? And now, in that case, they open what they call like a blueprint, and on that blueprint, they will see every single transaction you've done in the UK. Like, this literally blew my mind, because it simply meant that there was nothing hidden. Because when ours was open, he could see every single thing, and then your mortgage advisor will always call you. He'll be like, what is this you're paying money for? What is this you're paying money for? We can see you sent certain amount of money to this. In doing this, he's not being nosy. He's trying to create a file for you. He's trying to create like a picture of you, a picture of what your income look and what your expenditures look per month. They are going to open all your financial history. They want to know every nook and cranny, everything you spend money on in the month. So you need to be a wise spender when you're looking to get a mortgage. Make sure your finances are in order. It's not just about having your huge deposit. They want to make sure that you will be able to afford this house in addition to every other thing which you pay. And there is something else that they do, which at times I find it weird, but yeah, it is what it is. Whenever they're looking at your affordability for the month, they would also add your present house. Let's say I was living in a rent, right? And then I was paying £600. So they'll put in the £600 in addition to every other things I'm paying, as well as whatever my mortgage repayment is also going to be. And then that means you'll be spending so much for the month. It's a bit weird, because whenever I get this mortgage, I won't be paying that rent anymore, right? But then they still end up putting it in, because they just want to make sure that, yes, you are going to be able to pay this thing and you won't be choked while you're doing it, okay? Because yes, if you don't pay your mortgage repayment, it's a lot of trouble here in the UK, and even the banks don't want to get into the mess. The mortgage advisor checks affordability. When he runs all these things through, then he will be able to advise you based on the paperwork you think you should apply to and the possibility of you getting approved. He's going to tell you, oh, look at the rates this bank is given at this time. Look at the rate this independent lenders are given at this time. He's going to help you do all these things. He's going to do the application himself and then send them across, and he will come back to you. Even if the bank does need any further information, they sort of get across to him, and then he comes back to you to tell you. So this is going to be like a back and forth movement. Bear in mind that if you are a full-time employer, you will have to submit at least up to 6 months of your payslip. Okay, and in my case, because I had added both my agency job and my normal job just to boost my yearly income as well as that of my husband's. So, but as an agency staff, you have to, you know how you get paid weekly, you have to submit like weekly pay slip for at least 3 months. So you're submitting like 4 every month, 4 every month, 4 every month. So you have to keep all these things intact. So if you're looking to get a mortgage anytime soon, make sure you're keeping your pay slips, because you're definitely going to need them. But if you're deciding to go with a joint account, right, it's nice to go with a joint account with your husband, but it does still have a downside, which I'll mention here. If you're a first-time buyer in the UK, you don't get to pay a stamp duty. All right, I don't really have the exact figure of what the stamp duty is right now, but you don't get to pay a stamp duty because you're a first-time buyer, and there are little more perks for being a first-time buyer, which you just enjoy. But then if you do a joint mortgage buying with your spouse, that is, both of you have lost the chance, like you've just done it once. So if you're ever looking to buy another house, maybe to rent in the UK or for some investment or something, then you cannot be buying as a first-time buyer. That's where you're buying as a second-time buyer. But if maybe when you're getting the mortgage, you splitted it and you bought it in one person's name, the other, and you're hoping to buy another one for rent, then the other person can also buy that one as a first-time buyer. I don't know if you get what I mean, but yeah, it's your family, do you, okay? and what works best for you. So at this point where there is a lot of back and forth movement between the bank and the mortgage advisor and you, of course, so it goes like the bank, the mortgage advisor, and you. There's a lot of do this, bring this, don't do this, submit that. They want to be sure you're a legal resident in the UK. They want to be sure you have a good paying job. They want to be sure you've not been involved in any police case and crime, you've not been sentenced, a lot of that. You're just going to have to fulfill and submit everything which you need to do. And once they are happy with you, they will offer you what is referred to as an agreement in principle. Now, this is not your mortgage given to you first, but this is just them promising to say, yes, I have agreed to borrow you this money whenever you're ready, okay? So at times, people will always want to get the agreement in principle even before getting a building they're interested in. But the downside to that is that you might get an agreement in principle for a certain amount of money, and then the building you're interested in, it's a different amount of money, if you get what I mean. So at times, in my case, I got the house first before I went ahead to get the agreement in principle, just so I get the exact money I needed to borrow from the bank. Once you get your agreement in principle, you are going to send this, of course, to the estate agent, or you're going to send it to the sellers. And as soon as the estate agent or the sellers are okay with the agreement in principle, then things kind of get very serious at this point. Okay, so now know that even before the bank will go ahead to offer you this money, after the agreement in principle, the bank normally will go down to the building to go and do a survey. All right, they will send surveyors to the building to go and check this building. This building we're offering, we're giving somebody such amount of money. Is this building actually worth this amount of money? So if they go and check and yes, the building is worth 200k, 250k, then they'll be happy to finally offer your mortgage. So once they're happy with the state of the building, it's okay, everything is fine, it's not a house that's going to collapse in the next 2 days, they'll be happy to offer you the mortgage. Now, this is with you having submitted every other legal thing which they've requested from you, right? So once now you have your mortgage offered, then at this point you need to have a solicitor, right? At times the solicitors will want to charge. In my case, I was charged like 10% of the deposit. That's a huge amount of money. So the house was around 200k. The solicitors were charging around 2k. Okay, I know now there are solicitors that will take less than that. So when you're checking, please look for the cheaper ones, because I know it's a lot of money. Paid around £2,000 to the solicitors. But now at this point, it's usually off your hands, okay? It's now between the solicitors and the solicitors of the sellers. So the solicitors of the seller will have to be speaking to your solicitors, and they will finally decide on the completion. Mind that as you are trying to buy the house, you have the option of requesting for a surveyor to go and survey this house. It's a very important step, especially if it's not a new built house. If it's a new built house, yes, you'll be fine because it does have a form of warranty or insurance on it. But if it's an old house, which is most time more than 10 years, you need to get a surveyor to go and check. Make sure there are no cracks on the wall. Make sure this is not a place that can just give way at any time and then you'll be in loss. So you can do that, but then it's completely up to you. It's not compulsory. You can choose to do it or not. It's up to you, okay? So if you want to do that, you can sit all and you go there. You just have to inform the estate people or the sellers, and then they survey. And whenever the report comes back to you and you're happy with the report, then you can as well go ahead and submit them to your solicitors while they do the meetings and decide. So there'll be a lot of back and forth between your solicitors and the people. They'll keep requesting for all the documents. They're requesting for the plan. They're requesting for every single thing in the house. The request for the time the gas was last serviced. The request for the time the anti-mold was put in. The request, literally everything that has to be requested, in addition to the deed of the place. So all these documents will also be sent over to you to cross-check. And if you're happy with them, they will also return them back. And after all this back and forth movement, at the end of the day, a completion date will be reached. Now, a completion date will be the date where you sign off for the money to be transferred, okay, over to the sellers. So at this point, in my case, you are going to be transferring both the solicitor's money as well as the money and giving the bank notarization to transfer the rest of the mortgage money into the seller's account. So as soon as this is done, then you can decide when to go pick your key, which is always the happy days. Which is always the happy days. That's the time when everybody's looking forward to, of course, to go and get the key. Now, these steps I've listed here can take as much as 6 months to complete. At times less than 6 months. It all depends. If you're buying a new build and maybe you went to look at the house when it's still at the foundation level, at times it takes as much as a year. But if it's an old house which you just viewed and you're okay, you want to buy, it might be a little bit shorter, maybe like 3 months, but most times give or take 3 to 6 months for you to get your mortgage and everything what sorted. So it's a lot of process. If you're looking to get your mortgage next year, make sure that by now you're already keeping your files in order, you're keeping your accounts in order, because you need those things. If you watch this video to this time, I do hope you've subscribed and you've liked this channel. I share a lot of contents like this. Please leave a comment as well. It's going to motivate me to do more. And thank you very much. Until next time, I'll see you again. Bye bye.